Hi, so today I want to talk about two different business models that you can use when you're selling products and services. There are two different models. I prefer a solutions-based model. There are a lot of people that use a products and services model. I want to explain the pitfalls and the benefits of each and why I use the solutions-based model, and I also want to explain what this is. So, let's say somebody needs to get from point A to point B. Somebody in the products and services business model, you may sell them a Metro card, you may sell them a bus ticket, you may sell them a flying carpet, a donkey, a car, crutches, a wheelchair. You're going to sell them what they need to get from point A to point B. The solutions-based model is where I actually say, I am going to sell you getting from point A to point B. I am going to take personal accountability and responsibility for you getting from point A to point B. So I want to figure out where it is you're going. I want to figure out where it is you're starting. And I am going to ensure that you get from where you're starting to where you want to be. That's the solutions model. And again, the products and services model, I'll sell you the car, I'll sell you the flying carpet, I'll sell you the donkey, I'll sell you the Metro card, but it's up to you to get from point A to point B. The reason that I use the solutions-based model is this. What I find in the tech field, and again, I've been using this billing model for like 17 years now. What I've noticed anytime I switch, it doesn't matter if you charge somebody 1 cent for a product or a service. If that product or service does not get them the desired result, they will hate you. Most of the time, this is what happens. And I'm reminded of this from the other day. So this one gentleman walks in and he says, I need this board repaired. I need you to replace, how much to replace this, this, and this component. And this is where we all kind of sigh, because again, like there are a lot of people who watch this channel who learn and they still don't know how to do a lot of these things. And the people who have not watched this channel or done their research, they really don't have a fucking clue. And he's pointing to 3 components that, by the way, have absolutely nothing to do with his problem. And, you know, my tech looks at him and says, we will fix your board for $325 plus tax. So for the standard older board, the rate is $225 if you're a repair shop and $325 plus tax if you are a retail customer. I know it seems a little high, but again, this is New York. You can very easily spend $3 to $4 on a bottle of water here, and the studio apartments that are 100 years old above my building are $2,600. Like really, you have to keep in mind that this entire city is kind of a ripoff, and sadly the prices that I quote people are based on the fact that the cost of living here is insane. Now, this is still a very viable option for a lot of people who have newer machines where the motherboard is $500, $600, $700, or even $450, but they just don't feel like doing the work of buying it off of eBay, figuring out whether or not it works, and taking it all apart. To spend $325 to have me revive their $1,200 or $2,500 computer and have it done in a short time frame is worth something to them. Now, for him, it clearly was not. We looked at this board, and this board it's from 2008. This board is worth $200, if that, when it works perfectly. And he spent about $150 to buy this board in non-working condition. I feel very, very badly for him. I totally understand why he would not want to spend more than $20 or $30 or $40 to get this fixed, and I completely understand why he's asking for specific products and services, or for me to replace specific chips, instead of asking me to provide him with the solution of fixing his board. I understand it. It doesn't make financial sense. I'm not crazy, but at the same time, I'm not going to decrease my price on that, and here's why. Again, as I've said, if I were to charge this person 1 cent to replace those 3 components, and it doesn't work, he's not going to want to give me that penny. Like, he's going to give me that penny irritated. Or, in a lot of cases, people are not going to believe that you did the proper job. They're going to think that you sabotage it. They're going to think that you're purposely sabotaging it to try and upsell them. And it just never, ever works out for me. Like, even, for example, the no backlight coupon I had. This was not even a specific product or service. This was me selling you a solution, but for a specific niche problem. And the problem that I was having with this is I was getting machines in by like 3 or 5 of them a week that were totally dead and destroyed. Never, 0 ohm shorts to ground on every power rail, with no backlight coupon, and every single week it would be like 2 or 3 arguments. And the thing with the solutions model is, if I sell you the solution of I will make your logic board work again, everything is going to be covered under that, whether or not you have one simple little problem or whether you have a nightmare. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to argue. I don't have to hear, oh, but it turned on before I sent it to you. All I get to do, I don't care. I just fix it and I'm done. And the same is going to be true here. Again, if I were to replace those three components and they don't work, even at 1 cent or $1, this person is going to be particularly annoyed. And a great story that I can give relating to this was just from a couple of months ago. My good friend gets a lot of devices to repair from all around the country that other repair shops can't figure out or they destroy. She gets this one little cheap, disgusting tablet, and the thing is worth like $120. And it comes in saying, I want you to replace the charging port. Again, it's not, I want you to make it work so that I can sell this to my customer. It's, I want you to replace the charging port. She replaces the charging port. She runs the jumpers where they need to go. It charges, but it doesn't turn on. Why it doesn't turn on, again, is not her problem because she was asked to provide a specific product or a specific service, not a solution of making it work. So she says, okay, charges. I've done all I can here to try to get it turned on, but it doesn't turn on. Sends the guy a bill. And the guy's like, listen, I'm not paying you if this doesn't work. And it's just like, listen, motherfucker, you told me that you wanted me to put a charging port on this. It's your job to do a proper diagnosis, specifically since you're a repair shop, and especially since you're not asking me to do anything else. You asked me to put a charging port on the specific piece of shit tablet. I put a charging port on that specific piece of shit tablet. It charges the battery. Now it's time for you to give me my fucking money, right? And what happened here is, he didn't pay for like a week or two, and I told her, listen, you're going to send the invoice because he asked for this shit. He asked for you to provide a specific product or service instead of a solution. You billed him this ridiculously asinine low rate that I would not even bill for replacing a charging port, much less providing any type of solution. And if he doesn't pay, he's simply never going to get it back. And since he needs to be able to provide this back to whoever he's fixing it for, and it's going to be awkward for him to explain, well, I actually told this other person to replace the charging port, and since they replaced the charging port and it still doesn't work because of my shitty diagnosis, I'm not paying them, and that's why you don't have your tablet back. Since he doesn't want to have that conversation with his customer, he's eventually going to pay the bill, right? And he eventually pays the bill and he gets it back. But this was weeks of stress because unlike myself, the person who did this, she doesn't strive on conflict. She doesn't live on conflict. I love conflict. I thrive on conflict. When people decide to be arrogant, ignorant idiots, I smile at the idea of just ruining their day. It really doesn't raise my pulse one bit. But with her, this legitimately ate her up inside. And the problem here was a lack of solutions-based billing. If you sell a solution only, you can be rid of all this nonsense. So I only look to sell solutions. I only look to sell people when I know that I can get them from point A to point B. Not just that I can give them the charging port, not just that I can replace those two components, because again, if I replace, it doesn't matter what understanding we have, it doesn't matter. When you do that and it doesn't work, when somebody says, I want you to replace a switch on this console, and it's not that the switch is the problem. It's that 3 of the traces are destroyed on the machine, or actually shorting to the casing. If I replace that switch and I charge you even $20 and it doesn't work, you're still going to hate me. I provide solutions. I always look to provide a solution. So this requires a couple of things. The first is that I need to actually know what I'm doing in order to take accountability and responsibility for getting you from point A to point B. Any idiot can replace one component on a board, but you have to actually understand how the board works in order to fix it properly and actually understand what it is wrong with it so that you can provide your customer with a solution. Anybody can solder a charge port onto that cheap piece of shit tablet, but you have to really understand that cheap piece of shit tablet in order to actually understand why it's not turning on in order to be able to provide a solution to your customer. Not that I'm suggesting that my friends should learn how to provide solutions on cheap piece of shit tablets at all. Let's just get that straight. That's a waste of brain space. But in order to provide a solution, you have to be a little bit more, you're focusing on a higher end of clientele in general. Not only am I charging more for solutions than I am for products and services because I'm providing a higher end of service, I'm also attracting a generally higher end clientele. Again, the people who are going to come to me and say, can you replace like this one little thing, just this little one pin on my motherboard? They're not the people that want to pay for anything. They're the people who are going to cause constant conflict every step of the way. The people who are like, how much to just replace R9715? Again, when I replace that and it doesn't work, that's going to be the constant conflict. That's going to be the person that's arguing with me when it's time to pay their $20 saying, wasn't this easy for you? Can't I just give you a beer and call it even? Like, no, you can't give me a beer and call it even. We're not cool. The solutions-based model has a lot less hassle, a lot less irritation, and a lot less nightmare, as long as you explain it up front and as long as you're honest about it. So somebody called in the other day and they ripped a connector off of a board. And I told them, $325 plus tax. Because here's what's going to happen. every single fucking time that I was dumb enough to say, sure, I'll just replace your connector. The little trace that's running all the way under the BGA is ripped off of the board. And it's like, oh, and they're going to look at me like, oh, you didn't tell me you had to replace that. And I'm going to tell them, like, you didn't tell me you ripped this shit. And they're going to, I said I ripped a connector. You should know that if I say I ripped a connector, that means I could have ripped other things. You should know that. And, you're like, you're right. I should know that. $325 plus tax every time now, because I'm going to provide you with a solution. I'm not getting caught in these little rabbit holes to hell where I'm constantly arguing with people and constantly driving myself crazy because I agreed to provide products or services for people asking for them when that's not going to solve their problem. Again, this is another reason, like when people are like, I don't want you to repair my board, I want you to reball my SMC, that it's like, no, get out of here with that shit, because that is one of the largest causes of conflict in the repair business. And I will tell people up front, honestly, my solution is not worthwhile to you. And that's one of the things with the solutions-based billing model that I really feel is our responsibility. If you have that type of model, you need to tell people that when it's not worth it. And I know that not worth it is a subjective term, and some people get offended by that. When a motherboard is available for $200 in working condition, do not pay me $300 or $200 something to fix it. That's one of the things that I believe I have to tell people. And I'm constantly telling people when my solutions-based model doesn't work, but I always explain it up front. You may find somebody to just solder this connector on, and for all you know, rolling the dice, that may be all that's wrong with it. And it may save you $225, and you may be very, very happy with it. I know a lot of people who will want to solder that connector back on for $100, and it's up to you whether it's worth the risk. If it winds up being a lot more than a connector, that person is going to say, I gave you the connector, no, I'm not doing more for free, and you may have wasted $100. It's up to you whether or not you want to roll the dice. I'm not going to say that my business is better suited for you or worse suited for your specific problem. But what I will say is that if you choose us, you're going to pay this rate. And if we do not solve your problem, you will not pay. It doesn't matter if I solder the charge port on. It doesn't matter if the battery doesn't, it doesn't matter if the battery charges. If the thing doesn't turn on, if I don't get you to your solution, then you don't pay me. And that's part of the solutions model. And I much prefer that model because I'm not focusing on collecting money and nickel and diming for these little products and services. What I'm doing is I'm focusing on making people happy. I'm focusing on people leaving with working product. And I'm also focusing on not charging people if I don't get them to their solution. It doesn't matter about hours of labor. It doesn't matter the time or the parts or the effort I put in. If I don't get someone to their solution, it doesn't matter if I put 12 hours and $300 into their specific thing, they're leaving without paying. And that's one of the things that contributes to the review record that I have. If you Google my business, believe it or not, in spite of the fact that a lot of people think I'm an arrogant jackass on this YouTube channel, we have a really good reputation and rating, and I'm the one that's dealing with a lot of these people, and part of the reason for that is the solutions-based model. I want you to be happy. I want to get you from where you are to where you want to be, and I'm completely open and honest and upfront about the pricing for that, the time frame for that, and I ignore all this other stuff. Again, had I taken on all of these other customers, I'd be getting bad reviews like crazy because, again, as I said, I live for conflict with ignorant, arrogant people. I live for conflict with people who are just going to tell me, this is what I need, I know I need it, who are then going to be baffled when their little solution was wrong. And the solutions-based business model is something that it kind of helps prepare you for something outside of computer and cell phone repair. Again, like I'm turning 27 this year. I really am looking to move on from like fixing laptop motherboards in a room. It's cool. I like the fact that it made me money. I like the fact that I got to become one of the best in my little field for whatever little field that it is. It was a fun journey, but I would like to move on to doing other things with my life. And one of the things that I'm realizing as I want to move on to doing other things with my life is that the solutions-based model, having this much practice in the solutions-based model for all these little $1 and $2 and $4 and $700 jobs, it's really good practice for having a solution. It's really good practice to be able to provide for clients who want $7,000 jobs, $70,000 jobs, $100,000 jobs, or all different sorts of things in technology. Because again, most people, again, on this little small scale, like where it's $50 charging ports and $100 soldering jobs, okay, whatever. It doesn't work. They're going to be mad, but you may be able to get them to pay the 50 or the $100. But when it comes to like large scale jobs, You can't be asking people to pay $10, $15, $20, $40,000 for shit that doesn't work. That doesn't work. It really doesn't. And the more you get out there into the real world and into higher end jobs than just, again, basic laptop cell phone repair, the more you're going to realize just how screwed you are if you put yourself in a position where you're selling specific products and specific services, and what you give to somebody doesn't work. Again, the reason I believe in the solutions-based model is because it does not matter how cheap you are for what somebody asks you. If somebody asks you to do something and what they ask you to do will not work, it's your responsibility as a professional to tell them. The thing is, I'm totally okay with losing a large base of customers that are not going to want to pay. And I don't even, in a lot of the cases, I don't blame them. If all you have wrong with your motherboard is a backlight fuse, I totally understand why you don't want to give me $325 to fix this, but I am telling you, the one time I agree to even charge like $324.99 instead of $325 plus tax, it will not. It will be the fuse. It will be the little the trace going from the fuse to the transistor. It will be every single ball under the LP8550. Will not have a pad there. I'm telling you, this is just how it works, and this is why I've come to accept the solutions-based model. When I have the solutions-based model, I do not have to go back to ask for more money later. I do not have to deal with conflict from people. And minimizing conflict is one of those things that's really, really important if you want to have any type of success in the tech field. As I've said, this is 90% people, 90% psychology, 90% people who are stressed out that something doesn't work when they need it to work, 90% people who are stressed out that their server is down when they have clients to service, 90% people who are stressed out that their camera system is not working when they're getting burglarized, and it's 10% knowing how to hook it up and knowing what to solder. All that stuff, again, it's not difficult to learn. What is difficult to learn is how to deal with people. And when I have the solutions-based model, I find that it's very, very simple to deal with people, and it's very, very simple to avoid conflict so that I have time to do things like learn motherboard repair, time to do things like these videos. And the thing is, while I may not always get the customer with the solutions-based model, while I may lose business as a result of the solutions-based model, the thing is, I'm going to be making more time for the customers that want to pay for the solutions-based model, which means I'll be making more money off of the solutions-based customers and also making them more happy so that they refer more people who are compatible with my business's solutions-based mindset. Further, even though I'm going to be losing a lot of those customers that did not want to pay, for example, like that one gentleman who wanted me to charge him like $20 to solder a component onto his $150 board that is worth $200 when it works, I may be losing him as a customer, but I'm not getting a one-star review. You see, when I sell them, you know what, it'll be $50 to replace those components, and I replace those components and they don't work, and I hand it back to them and say, give me my $50, by the way, your board doesn't work, that's a one-star review. That is, and again, you may say, oh, I can explain it to them properly, and I just point to, all I do is point. I just point to all these people that have like Yelp pages that have been in existence for 10 years, and they have 3 stars with 2 reviews, and it's like that speaks for itself. And again, I'm not using Yelp as a bragging right here. I'm just saying that I feel it's okay to miss out on some customers, or tell them politely why it is we do business the way we do it up front, and have them be, well, I took a trip down here for nothing, but thank you. Then actually do this work for them and have them give me a 1-star review. Then do this work for them and have that person tell everybody that they meet on the internet that my friend is unprofessional because she soldered the charging port that I told her to. And it's worth it to avoid that conflict. Even if I am losing customers, I'm at the very least they're leaving happier than they would have had I done what they asked me to, and that's important.